Test 1, 2. Oh man, it looks like we are in fact live. Good morning, folks. Let's see if anybody jumps on here in just a moment. Ooh, there we go. There we go. Good morning. Good morning. Looks like we have 13 people on live. I am doing a little sound and video check. So audio and video. Hey, if you hear me okay, good morning. Tell me you see and hear me okay. By the way, it's 7:33 or something like that. I apologize. For just a minute, I was having a little difficulty going live, and then I think I kind of figured it out. So good morning. Good morning. John is on. Wow, a lot of people on. Brian is on. Good morning, Goldie. Bob, another John, Mr. John Rainan. Good morning. IDPA is on. Mr. Will in Montana, Bob Lou. Oh man, a lot of people. Francois, if that's right, pronunciation. Jay in Hawaii, coin number 188. That's going to be hard to beat. Man, that's awesome. I love it with 34, 36, 38. I love the numbers when they start to bump up like that. That's really cool because hopefully today is an interesting discussion. We're going to kind of repeat a discussion I've had in the past. Of course, if you're joining me on this morning's live stream, my name is Mike Seeklander, and we're going to get rocking and rolling. We're talking about appendix inside the waistband. Let me give you all just a little bit more light here on my beautiful face. There we go. We're going to talk about some very unique subjects, and today, of course, is probably one of the last days of the defensive handgun cycle. So, you know, if we have questions about the grip, trigger sights, or something else, or, you know, I'm actually utilizing a gun with an optic on it today, so we may talk about optics a little bit. But the bottom line is I wanted to talk about maybe the performance steps to carry an appendix for both competition and defensive reasons. And by the way, I'm writing an article for IDPA on something similar. So look for that in a new version of the Tactical Journal and summarize that. So as you all know, before we get going, I would love for you to type in your coin number. If you're an American Warrior Society coin member, please let us know what number you are. If you're ACSS and part of one of my competitive programs, good morning, competitive shooters. Let us know what program you're part of. If you're new to this and you're just watching this and you jump on at whatever point in time, please type in new and that you're from wherever, Hawaii, Ohio, or Nebraska, or someplace like that. My name is Mike Seeklander, and I'm going to talk very, very quickly about safety, and then we're going to get into the live stream and do some stuff like that. If you're going to join me, and I hope you do in terms of drawing or training or whatever else for the appendix position, I need you to make sure you have completely and totally unloaded firearms and magazines. So I'm going to show you an unloaded and empty magazine there that I'm going to have in a mag pouch on my person. And I'm also going to show you not just an unloaded firearm, but a Coolfire converted firearm. If some of you jumped on the live stream earlier when I was playing around and I fired the gun and whoa, I got felt recoil, where literally my dot is lifting and returning. That is the Coolfire trainer. I actually just did a little deal with them on video yesterday and have been working with Coolfire for a long, long time. It is, what do they call this? Dry fire on steroids. It allows you to replace the barrel and the recoil spring in your gun if you haven't seen it, and then you get multiple shots and felt recoil. So that's my Glock 19. I've already fired probably 15 shots, probably another 10 shots. And then eventually what happens is I will take some compressed CO2, right, in a bottle, and I'm going to pop this on here, and boom, now I'm filled back up to rock and roll and dry fire some more. Now, this is a partial bottle, so it's not going to give me a lot of power today, but there you go. You get the gist of it. Man, we have 73 people on. If you haven't clicked that share button, do me a favor, click the share button. Let me see who we have on. Hey, Ontario, Canada, I see that. Good morning, Mark Hamilton. Albert Abbins. Abbins? Is it Abbins? Albert, is that right, man? From the Philippines. Good morning. Hey, Donald Green. Brandon Powers. We may talk maybe a little bit about Brandon Powers because I think Brandon is going to be competing. Maybe Brandon comment in the appendix position for the IDPA Nationals. Lynn, good morning. Lynn Webb. Joe Piazza. Hello, sir. How are you? Alan Kelly. Good morning. Carl Killian. I don't know if I've seen that name or not. Good morning, Yorktown, Virginia. Damien, good morning. Good morning, Kingston, Jamaica. Wow, we got people all over the place. Paul Anderson, hello. Kip, is it Shinnick, Fort Pierce, Florida. Man, oh man, what else do we have here? We have people from all over the place. I love this. All right, 77 live viewers. And if you're new to this morning, periodically I'll stop and have a sip of my coffee and ask you to share. That simply means click the share button on Facebook and share it to groups you're members of or whatever else. I know my members and folks that are kind of old hat to this have probably already clicked the share button. So let's get right into it. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about, the appendix inside the waistband position. And let me give you a little bit more of a downward angle here because oftentimes what I'm going to do is I'm going to back away from the camera and I'm going to be showing you the actual carry position. So I may have to adjust my camera slightly. And I want you to consider a few things before we talk about appendix. Number one, maybe should you carry in the appendix position? And when I talk about appendix, we're talking about typically, right around 2 o'clock position, maybe 1 or 2 o'clock on a clock. So if 12 o'clock is directly in front of me, 1 and 2 o'clock would probably be a standard carry position. And by the way, I forgot to mention it earlier in our safety briefing. I got off track in my Coolfire demo. I do have an unloaded firearm. I do have one more gun that I wanted to show you is unloaded and clear. And this is one of my Wilson Combat Experiors. So it's an unloaded and clear chamber there. And I want you to do me a huge favor and make sure right now before we continue on that you have no live ammo and no live firearms in your area. If you happen to be carrying a firearm, that's totally cool. Just please don't handle it during the live stream. I don't want anything bad to happen. If you're not willing to comply, then I have to tell you to go elsewhere. By the way, we are on the live stream pages of Shooting Performance, my page. We are on the awesome IDPA page, and we're on the American Warrior Society page as well. So welcome. If you're watching me on one of those 3 Facebook pages now or later on during the day, you can always share it and then go from there. So it looks like Brandon said he is correct. He'll be competing at the IDPA Nationals SSP in the appendix waistband, inside the waistband position. Hello, Gilly from Manila, Philippines. Outstanding. Alex from Moldova. Good morning, Alex. That is actually pretty darn good. Andy from Fenton, Michigan. Marcy, Indiana. Good morning. Joey Russo's on this morning. It's early out there if you are on the West Coast. Man, we got people from all over. Gregory from Quito, Ecuador. This is absolutely amazing. So, okay, so let's talk about this really quickly. If you are considering carrying in the appendix position, what would make you decide to put a firearm on your body at 1 to 2 o'clock versus a strong side carry position, right? And I'm actually going to put this holster on here in a second, but I did want to show off this holster. I'm particularly proud of it. This is a sponsor holster. I'm not going to give you a big sales pitch here, but this is the Seeklander signature line made from Precision Holsters. This is the Ultra Appendix inside the waistband holster. It's a purpose-designed holster by Precision Holsters. And the reason I wanted to show you this is if you decide to carry in the appendix position, that's pretty darn important. Not only is how and what you wear important, but your holster and your belt selection are critical. And if you look at a holster like this particular holster has some unique design features, such as some padding on the bottom of the holster and some additional room right here on this second clip. If you see how this second clip is actually built up, so the material is actually pushed away from where the normal holster might be. This padding and this additional material are going to have the effect of pushing the gun into my body and pushing the grip into my body as well. So the gun won't sit out like this, maybe as the grip is pushing out, which would be less concealable. This holster is designed to push the gun into my body and into my body. Now, that said, if you're selecting a holster for appendix inside the waistband carry, we have to recognize that if we are wearing a holster that is designed to push the gun into our body to make it more concealable, that also makes it a little bit harder to grip. So a couple features that I want you to look for in a good holster is I want you to have really, really strong and robust clips. Like when I put this holster on my body, I need like a little automatic camera that adjusts down when I need it to adjust down. So when I put this holster on the right position on my belt, it's actually kind of a challenge to get the clips on my belt. I mean, I've got to kind of fight to get it in there. And once I get it aligned, I got to make sure my belt goes over the second clip. And then I'm going to kind of, anchor it around a little bit. I'm going to pull my pants up. And here's the deal. That's by design. So this holster should be somewhat difficult to get on your belt. If you have a holster with belt clips that's not very difficult to get on, meaning it pops on and off your belt very, very easily, well, that tells me that that holster may come off the belt easily as well. So if you're going to carry in the appendix position, it needs to be a very secure holster, right? If you grab a hold of this holster and start to rip on my belt, you will not pull the holster off, right? And that's because of these clips. Now, sorry, I got a little bit of a frog in my throat. I'm not sure if I got some allergies going on. One more thing about the holster itself, and this is critical, and I want you to write this down if you're taking notes. The clips themselves, these are made of very, very strong and robust plastic. I've never broken one of these clips. I'm not saying they're not breakable, but I've never broken one of these. But if you notice, and this is really important to me, that the plastic clip has a rounded bottom. I've seen some holsters out there that actually have the metal clip on them, and they have a little bit of, I'm not sure what it would be called, but basically a little bit of a flange that pops up on the end of the clip. And the reason that flange is there is it's there so you can kind of pull the clip up with your fingers to get it on and off your belt. The problem with those little metal flanges is twofold. And I've learned this from experience, and you got to write this down. Number one, they cut your hand sometimes. So if you imagine this belt is on my holster and I go to sweep aggressively across that metal flange or that little metal tab that sticks out, I've actually cut myself with those. But the second thing is, if the holster is inside my shirt and I try to drag the shirt across that flange, it catches on the shirt. So in terms of this holster, if you look at my shirt being across these rounded hooks, and I know I'll show you this in when I get closer, the shirt just slips right off there, right? So be wary when you select your appendix inside the waistband holster that you select one that is designed for that carry position that has these features. So there's a little bit of a tip for you in terms of holster. One more thing on the holster and belt selection. I'm wearing, of course, a Precision Holsters belt. Full disclosure here, 170 live viewers, which is freaking awesome, folks. I think we're gonna hit 500 today. If you click the share button. Some of you that are social media like superstars, click share. Tell your movie star friend that we're on and send us 100,000 viewers, because I want to hit like 5,000 today. Right, that's my goal. Where was I? Oh, back to the holster. One more thing about the holster in terms of position. You can see that on this holster, there are some small holes, right? So I can actually take these clips and I can move them up and down. Not all of the clips that I have on all the holsters have multiple holes. So you're going to want to make sure when you order these that you have a clip on it that has several hole positions or adjustability, because I want to have the gun on my body in the right angle, right? Because so if you can imagine, when the gun is on my body in that 1 o'clock position, if the holster is too far forward like this, right? If it sits on my belt like this, this is wrong. Now, this is how a strong side carry holster carried in the appendix position will sit, because a strong side holster is designed to have that angle forward, because your wrist is at that angle when you reach back here. The problem is, if you leave that holster in that same angle in this position, right? Now I've got to break my shoulders to have my grip. So what I want to do is I want to have the holster angled at the same angle as my hip. So if you can see that position, let me give you just a little more light. I turned this thing down a little bit because it's so bright in my face, but it shows the video a little bit better. And oh, John Marcus is on. John Marcus is the evil holster designer of this thing. Of course, I helped him come up with the color, but he did this. This is his work, by the way. He's one of my alumni, great guy, which is why I support the company beyond our sponsorship. They don't pay me a ton of money, to be honest with you. They're just fantastic holsters, and he's a fantastic guy. So back to the angle. This holster position is such that if you look at the angle, when I grab the gun, it's about the same angle as my wrist. So I don't have to do a lot of this motion to actually draw the gun, out of the holster. Now, let me stick this sucker back on. And one more time, like I said, this guy is kind of a challenge to get on. If your appendix holster is not somewhat difficult to get on, like it's very easy on, then I would submit to you that it's probably going to be very easy off. And when I say very easy off, I'm talking about very easy off for a guy that's trying to rip your holster off of you, right? You don't want that. Now, one more thing I'm going to do. This is the thick portion of my belt. So once I get my appendix position holster on, I'm going to take my whole belt and I'm going to slide it this direction, right? So I want the thick portion of the belt on. But if you notice, once I put the holster on, there's no printing at all. Like you can't tell that I'm wearing this gun, right? But in reality, it's a pretty fast draw process, right? Now, I happen to be demoing this with a Wilson Combat Glock 19. I don't carry a Glock in the appendix position. This is a personal decision. You can ask questions about this, and I don't want you to to overthink this, but I'm not a personal fan of a striker fired handgun without a manual safety in the appendix position, because it's a semi-tension striker in the appendix position. I carry a 1911 in that position. I might carry a striker fired pistol like one of our Wilson Combat SIG 365 or SIG 320 mini or compact variations with a manual safety, but I'm not a fan of the appendix position for a striker fired pistol, but that's just my personal belief. Now, there are a lot of guys in law enforcement, deep cover. There's some guys in the military doing low profile stuff that may very well wear a gun like this in this position. Matter of fact, I used to work with a bunch of them a long time ago, and they're completely safe. And they had, they had great trigger finger discipline, et cetera, but just some things to think about. Now, one more thing about holster. When we are carrying the holster, it's critically important that you have a holster that is protected from things getting inside of it, right? So this holster, has purpose designed clips. It's got a very open mouth, if that's the right word for the holster. So getting the gun back in the holster is very seamless. One more thing for all of you IDPA shooters who are about to do appendixes on the waistband. Your whole reholstering procedure is critical. So let me show you this real quick, and then here's a tip for you. When you're reholstering the appendix inside the waistband, so maybe you've loaded and made ready and you've done the command, or maybe you finished a stage, even though you're reholstering an unloaded gun, you should still do it the same way. All of you defenders, all of you defensive shooters should be thinking the same way. So when I reholster, once I'm done, I always use the offhand to completely clear the garment. Now notice the second I'm doing this, I'm changing my body posture. So I'm actually sticking my belly or my pelvis forward, right? And the reason I'm doing that is I want to point the holster away from my body, and I want you to pay particular attention to the angle of the gun. The gun is angled this way. I'm not doing this. The gun is angled away from my body. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick glance in the holster. And some of you are going, well, Mike, the tactical ninjas will say, don't look at your holster. I know that, okay? But if you're holstering, you're not fighting that moment in time. And I want to make sure that a piece of brass or something didn't get inside my holster. And then I'm going to slowly insert the gun. But notice the muzzle direction is still away from my body, and I'm holstering. Now, the last but not least, two more things. I am thumb checking the gun to my holster. So the thumb is on the back of the slide, which is holding the slide forward. If you're carrying a Glock, you might have what's called a striker controlled device. And my trigger finger is pronounced and away from the gun. It's not here. It's not any position where it can be knocked inside the trigger guard. So my trigger finger is pronounced and away from the gun, and that's how I'm going to holster. If you're an IDPA shooter, by the way, and you run an IDPA club, maybe you're an IDPA club match director, I would go through a safe reholstering check for your members before they compete AIWB. And I don't know, that's not in the rule book. I'm not speaking for IDPA. I'm just telling you what I would do to keep them safe. Okay. Let's see. I know I have some questions because we had 108 people on. Let me check this out. Hey, Tina. Good morning, Tina. Tina shared it. Adrian Moeller, man, I haven't seen you for a long time, dude. Nice to see you. Chris Berry. Good morning, Chris. Dan, you're welcome. Steve Washington from Michigan, coin number 2003. Man, that is awesome. Good morning, Daniel McGee. How are you, sir? James Hutzberger asked about what about a Glock with a striker control unit. Yes, earlier, and I'll just to summarize this, not to give a lot of opinion. I don't carry a striker, a striker fire pistol in the appendix position. I have in the past, but I got away from that. I have a comfort about a manual safety handgun in the appendix position. I'm not saying for the record it's unsafe. I'm just saying I don't personally like that. However, if you decided to carry a gun in the appendix position, what James is referring to is a striker control device, which is basically a small plate that will flip up if the trigger's pulled or the striker is being moved to the rear. So with the striker control device, if you're going to hold that down, you would feel it if the trigger's being pulled or maybe pushed by something in your holster. So just be aware of that. So yes, a Glock or something like that with a striker control device. My partner in crime, Mr. Rich Brown, carries like that. Me, not so much, right? So, hey, Jesse Perez, good morning. How are you, sir? So he just said the TAV group makes it. Hey, Dan Schreiner says, good morning, fellow patriots. Hey, we are all patriots, defenders of the free country US of A. We got a lot of people on there outside the country too. Okay, excuse me. By the way, I am kind of talking fast this morning. I have a lot to cover, and I got a range session. I'm really trying to get out there before it gets stupid hot. So let me talk to you a little bit about garments, and this is how I would select your undergarment and your concealing garment for both carry and competition. Now, understand when or if I compete appendix position in IDPA, and I guess technically it would be illegal in USPSA as well. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. I will select an undergarment. So if you notice, I have an undergarment on. I have a compression type shirt. This is actually one I got from, who was this? Core Performance a long time ago. I think JJ Ricazza came up with the shall not be infringed, which I'm going to copy. I'm going to make a rash guard like this sometime in the future that has some SPF protection. But I would carry or compete with an undergarment, whether it's long or short sleeve, that fits tight to my body, right? In this particular undergarment, we call them rash guards in jiu-jitsu, is down kind of deep. And I actually have it tucked, not to get real personal here, tucked in my underwear to keep it tucked securely, right? And then I have the holster and the gun on top of it, right? Now, when I'm doing this, the reason I want the undergarment is it dramatically reduces the friction between my hand as I'm sweeping the garment and establishing my grip in the holster. If I didn't have this undergarment, I would be making contact with my skin, and if it was like it's been crazy hot here, like stupid hot in Oklahoma, and as I made contact with my skin, maybe with a wet or sweaty shirt and a sweaty surface of my skin, I'd be really ripping across that skin to build that grip. Where this undergarment is something that dramatically reduces that friction between my hand and the gun itself. So I would, number one, select an undergarment, right, that allows you less friction between your body and the gun. And that'll also kind of disperse some of the sweat on a hot, sweaty day, right? You know, if you're going to compete at Talladega at the Nationals, or if you're going to shoot a local match on a day like today, when the heat index is going to be 110, you know, you need something to mitigate that. Now, this happens to be black in color. I would probably select something gray or lighter. I do have some white undergarment shirts that I wear in defensive handgun classes. I don't really like white, though, because white shows gun oil up, and it just kind of, honestly, to put it blunt, it looks sloppy. And by the way, let's see what if we have here. All right, nobody else has any big questions. We'll do some Q&A here in a second, folks. So I want to cover a few more pieces of material. The second thing I want you to consider is your cover garment. Now, if you're doing IDPA, you have to wear a cover garment, right? Should you select a closed front garment or an open front garment? And I would suggest that an open front garment like a vest, right? The open front portion of the vest is very close to my holster and my carry rig. Not sure what's going on with my voice here. So if I don't think, and I don't know what Brandon is going to do, I don't think I would wear my IDPA vest to cover the gun up, because I don't think it would conceal it well. And I know for a fact, if I were competing in the appendix position, I would carry something similar to how I carry my handgun and conceal it. So for me, I will wear a polo shirt. I was wearing a polo shirt most of the day yesterday. Or I will wear a t-shirt, for example, that covers the gun up, which means that this is what I call a closed front garment, right? These are closed front garments versus an open front garment like a vest or whatever else. Now, a couple things I want to point out. Number one, and I'll show you those here in a second, I like a length that not only completely conceals the gun, but is very close to where my hands are, right? So when I start my initial draw process, my hands are very, very close to where the garment is, so I can very quickly grab the garment. And let's address that right now, because I know there are different people that have different schools of thoughts. There are multiple ways to sweep your garment. You're going to see some out there do the rip and grip, where they're ripping the garment out of the way and grabbing the handgun out of the holster. I call that the rip and grip, because it primarily uses the support hand to rip the garment out of the way, all right? Now, the issue I have, the reason I don't spend a lot of time with the rip and grip, is it doesn't translate well for my defensive situation where my flashlight is out and I realize there's a threat and I need to draw my handgun, right? If you notice, when I drew my handgun in that circumstance, I had something in my hand. So I would not want to take the flashlight and reach down and rip, because I would take the light off my opponent. Or maybe if I picked up a kid. And these are circumstances that would occupy the left arm. In addition, I was also trained and worked a little bit with Craig Douglas. I was trained by Mike Brown and Brandon Bennett. We talked about the appendix position, and more specifically, wrapping another guy's arm up and drawing the gun out in a close quarter situation, in which case, once again, my support hand is occupied. So with me, I'm not opposed to a rip and grip in certain circumstances, but I think that you should have the skill to draw the handgun with what I call an assisted draw. So what I just did was an assisted draw. So when I mean assisted, I'll slow it down. I am assisting the strong hand with the support hand. Watch it again. So I'm starting my sweep. I'm going to draw a big C around the gun. And at that same time, both hands would move. So both hands are moving. Now I'm assisting by holding the garment out of the way with my support hand. But I did the large majority of my sweeping with my strong hand. Now, if I don't have my support hand, I can still draw the handgun with my strong hand. And to do that, I am literally reaching inside the garment. I'm pulling the garment off, and then I'm basically drawing a big C, like if you can imagine an upside down C around the gun. And as I pull off, I will go to my thumb, and I'll drive my thumb down the back strap of the handgun to build my grip. And of course, hands chopped together in a 3D chop position. By the way, if you're watching this, you're like, Mike shooting his wall up. No, that's the Coolfire trainer kit that we showed off earlier. Okay. But by assisting, I'm reaching down and I'm sweeping the garment out of the way, and I'm holding the garment up. Now, I may reach down with my strong hand and miss the garment, in which case you would see me pick it up with my support hand, right? But I am not a ripper and gripper. Oh, by the way, a couple of other options and methods in this tip. This will be a long Instagram tip if I put this on Instagram. Not everybody reaches inside the garment. I think Jared of tier 1 may actually reach in and he just grabs the whole shirt. So he just grabs a handful of shirt and rips, oops, I missed that, sorry. And he rips it out of the way. And that's probably why I don't necessarily like that, right? A lot of folks would just grab a handful of shirt and they rip the shirt out of the way and draw. I could actually make that work, right? I can rip it out of the way far enough. And notice, no matter what you do, however you do that, the shirt has to be ripped, out of the way far enough where you clear the garment. Now, I will tell you that if you have your support hands set up in the right position, right, a rip and grip is probably a tenth or two faster than a strong hand sweep. And if you see me tucking my undershirt in, that's a critical part of the solution. I would suggest that when you select your undershirt, i.e. your rash guard, if you can find, some of them are made with a small elastic piece on the bottom of them. And that small elastic piece actually has some plastic on it. And what it does is it kind of grabs your waist so the rash guard doesn't pull out. Now, I've wore this one so much that as I'm pulling up, and also because this particular gun has skateboard tape on the grip, I actually probably wouldn't have skateboard tape on my carry gun because it skateboard tapes your skin or your clothes. So that's probably not an effective carry kind of gun. I would have it on a competition gun, so I would have to address that, and I would deal with the fact that it might be abrasive to my skin because it offers me so much more control of the handgun itself. Okay. By the way, hey, we've had a bunch of people on. Hey, Will Mel's on. You know what I'm saying? Scott, what's up? Good morning, Scott. How are you? Scott says Under Armour compression tees are great. I actually have an Under Armour compression tee somewhere laying in here because I needed it for yesterday. Who else do we have on? Let's see what kind of questions we have on. All right. Good morning, Navin Dionaf, if that's the right pronunciation. Wow, man. Tuck your shirt in your underwear. Yeah, Joe, I already got my shirt tucked in my underwear, man. Sometimes it still comes out. Hey, good morning, Navin in New York. Good morning, good morning. All right, I don't see any big questions popping up, but we'll do this here in a second. So I've talked about a few things, and I want to pound this home real quick, and then we'll talk about the draw process a little bit, and maybe speeding up the draw process, and then we'll do some open Q&A. So the shirt I have selected is a length. So when my hands are relaxed at my sides, my hand comes right inside the shirt. If my shirt was slightly shorter, I know it might seem like I have less shirt to sweep out of the way, but when I reach for the shirt, it would be right about where my holster is, and that doesn't open the shirt up. If you notice, my shirt is a little open down here. I would also select a shirt made of material, and you may or may not be able to tell this on the camera, right? These two 511 shirts. This is a lighter, thinner shirt. They're very fancy. They're very comfortable, but they don't conceal as well for true concealment purposes, right? This is a little bit thicker shirt. This is so warm because I've worn this on like almost all of my defensive handgun live streams because it has such a unique heavyweight material that's still stretchy and thick that doesn't wrinkle. It's very easy to pull the gun out and draw this. It has a weight that allows me to draw effectively. And I honestly, if you're competing, Brandon probably is already doing this. I would order a bunch of different polos or shirts, and I would have different weights and different materials. I'd order a single of all of them in my size, and I'd probably order a size too big. And then I would try all those. And then I would figure out, okay, this material combination works the best. And that's what I would order as my competition shirt. And maybe, whatever, put some logos or carry shirt. Because I think that you should select your carry gear. Let me say this clearly. I think you should select your carry gear like we select our competition gear. Because if you have to draw your handgun, for defensive reasons, you are in a competition of some sort, whether you're in a competition to shoot a guy with a knife or to get the gun in the fight, you're kind of in a competition as well too. Now, for those of you that haven't asked yet, I am actually carrying one strong side mag pouch. If you notice, my draw process is a strong hand sweep where I'm sweeping the garment out of the way. My reload process is the same. Draw process, sweep and grip. Reload process, sweep and grip. I'm just doing the opposite. I'm not a fan of carrying my magazines on the front of the body. I don't even know if IDPA I don't know if we have to be beyond center line back there for appendix position. Someone bring up the rule book. I never quote the rules because I get them wrong all the time. Even though I did read the rule book, I don't have it memorized. Okay. Bruce, yeah. So let me watch again. I just talked about that. So if let me give you just right here. I got the angle on my light here. Okay. So the strong hand clear on the draw is as follows. I'm going to reach in. I'm going to rip the shirt up. I'm drawing a big C, and I call this the finger switch when I switch to my thumb and I drive the hand up the back strap of the handgun. Of course, this hand will be up here assisting. Gun comes out, chop into the trigger guard, build my full grip, find my dot or my iron sights, and fire my shots, right? Holster back up, deliberate holstering process, muzzle away from my body. By the way, you IDPA competitors, if you reholster like that, you will make your SOs very, very happy, right? IDPA should chop this video up into little chunks and send this out to the clubs because that's, I think, super important. The reload process, same thing. We're reaching inside the garment. I'm going to pull the garment up and out of the way. I'm going to shift my hand a little bit there, and then I'm going to reach down and index the magazine just like I always index the magazine, base pad in the palm of my hand. My finger wouldn't be on the tip of the bullet, but it would be up there on the front of the magazine, right? So if I had to do a full reload on the handgun, it would be full reload, sweep, and then into the position itself. So there's my reload. Now, I'm only carrying a single mag pouch right now, but, you know, in IDPA, of course, I would just add a second mag pouch in whatever legal position it was in, if that makes sense, okay? Richard says he's learning new things. I'm happy to hear that, sir. Good morning. I got to have a sip of my coffee. And like I said, folks, I don't have a ton more time. I really wanted to cover this subject one more time because we covered it several weeks ago. You know, I think it's sort of the new hot item in maybe IDPA competition because of the new rule book. But there's a lot of people that are, you know, that are carrying appendix and haven't really addressed their whole carry system. I've addressed the undershirt, the overshirt, the belt, the holster position, the holster design, and the holster angle. And those are all really, really important. And when I go to my classes, that's the thing I see messed up most is the gun position on the belt is wrong. There are things that need to be done differently, and the person may not know what that is, if that makes sense. Okay. Is this Nevin says a case carry in swamp or hold the weapon in the air? I don't know about that, Nevin. That's a great question. I suppose you could carry a gun in the swamp if you wanted to. Bruce, I think I answered your question. Sheila, do you think solid print prints more obvious than design print? Yeah, maybe. But I'll tell you, Sheila, this is the reason I wore this shirt. It's a great example. This color variant, and it's not this material is very similar to this material. Now, granted, full disclosure, I mean, I do try to match a little better, but I probably could have wore this. I think they're the same, nearly the same polo shirt design. But this color, or even a lighter variant of blue or green or whatever, or gray, even worse, would print a lot more. Where, you know, with this kind of, call this whatever you want. I don't know what color this is. I am colorblind. Y'all know that, right? It's full disclosure. So I'm sitting here talking about color, and I'm not even sure what I'm wearing right now. But the point is, I don't have any printing really. Like you might be able to see the butt of the gun there a little bit, but you know, this kind of, you know, assuming it's not sticking to the skateboard tape, there's no printing. You can see some wrinkles. So a little bit darker variation is good. If this shirt were a pattern shirt, it would probably conceal better in most cases. Some patterns, some lines, or some stripes to break it up. And the reason this shirt doesn't print is you can see these, you know, the stripes and the not the stripes, but basically the shadows, you know, from the wrinkles and the where the material comes together and a shirt conceals it. So that's just a consideration. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so Tina, great question. By the way, when I converted my kit this morning, I actually took off. This is actually the proprietary laser that goes on a Coolfire trainer kit, right? So if you fire with the laser, it goes on just like this, and it fires a little. I'm not sure if you can see that. If you can see the little laser in the wall. A lot of times the camera won't pick it up because it's so fast. But if you're using laser reactive targets, right? the laser front end is critical on the Coolfire trainer. We actually just did some video with them just yesterday. So yes, it does have a laser cartridge that the owner, Al, has a patent for as well. So yes, it does. Okay. Oh, let's see what we have here. All right. Any other questions? Gerald, D's number 952. You're going to rewind. You better rewind, Gerald. Nice to see you, man. How are you? Yeah. So Brandon said the mag's no longer to be behind the hip. That's exactly right. That's kind of what I thought. And I would carry, if you see me, some of the things that I'm writing in a previous article or a future article, will you see Mike Seeklander competing AIWB at the Nationals? No, I probably won't. Because the week before, I'm shooting a strong side match in USPSA at the national level as well. So I want to I basically have the same belt, same holster, same position for everything. The only thing different now is my mag pouch. When I go USPSA carry optic, which I am in love with, by the way, I'll put a couple mag pouches a little bit farther in the front. Now, in the future, will you see me at a big match or a state match at Appendix or maybe even at the Nationals next year? To get out there and compete against Brandon or some of these guys that are carrying and competing Appendix, maybe. Do I think it's a novelty? It's a little bit of a novelty, but I think it's also a novel idea in terms of, hey, I'm a dude that carries in the Appendix position. So to go and shoot a match with that position with my full carry gear makes all the sense in the world. Now I carry a compact 1911, so I might compete in the CCP division, right? In the Appendix position, or maybe a future optic-sighted compact handgun, but we'll see about that in the future. But I think it's a great rule change and a great solution. Okay. Yeah, good question. So William asked about what are your thoughts about shirts that have to cover the gun when your hands are fully extended in the air? So grab it. Yeah. So William's question is really good. He said, hey, if you're carrying a concealment garment and you reach up to grab something in a store, your shirt should cover your gun. And notice, William, for competition reasons, I like the long shirt because I can reach inside the shirt very, very quickly for the draw process. But it also mimics my carry desire in terms of a longer t-shirt or a longer polo shirt, because now I can reach up completely and you don't see any of my gear. You don't see the holster. You might barely see the clip right there, but not really. And I completely agree with a longer shirt in that matter as well. So, and as far as your carry garment and gear, you just got to put it on. You got to wear it around. You got to test it and draw from it and see if it works. But I think you're exactly right. Longer shirt is probably slightly better. Michael, any consideration as far as tack loads using Appendix? So here's the deal in terms of tack loads. When we're talking about tack loads, or of course we're talking about popping the mag out of the gun and putting in your pocket or whatever else. So right now, because of the shirt length, if I did a load, I would have to reach inside and load. If I did a tack load and took the magazine out of the gun and did a reload with retention, I would have to sweep the t-shirt out of the way slightly to get the magazine in my pocket. Now, granted, I'm wearing a flashlight because this is my everyday carry. At the match, I'm going to take the flashlight out because it exposed my pocket. So to your question or answer to your question is, I would still have to practice the ability to sweep the garment out of the way just enough to get the magazine in the pocket. I never put the magazine in my belt, by the way. And also, in even more full disclosure, and I don't think the rule book will force me to do a tack load right now, I will only probably do a tack load or a reload with retention if it's a forced thing on a stage. I have made a decision in the last couple matches I've shot that a tack load, or I won't ever do a full tack load. A reload with retention is probably not something I will do on the stage because it doesn't offer me a ton in return for what I may risk in terms of dropping the magazine. And I practice them a bunch, and I still find myself kind of fighting to get it done. There are a couple of my teammates, Glenn Shelby, for example, on Team Wilson Combat. His reloads with retention are fantastic. So he might be a guy that might utilize those. But I will probably do a slide lock load, hopefully moving, or do maybe even a stationary slide lock load, which I know is going to take me a little more time if I'm stationary. but I'm not risking messing the reload with retention up, and I'm not risking dropping the magazine. So to be honest with you, in answer to your question, you probably won't see me do a reload with retention in any IDPA stage anytime soon. Okay. Let's see here. What else do we have? Okay. All right. I don't see any more questions, folks. I got to jump off here and go. I wanted to actually, I want to pull that sunlight off my wall there. Pay attention to my lighting. I want to summarize some of the things that we talked about today, and then we'll do some Q&A or whatever else. Number one, we talked about, the holster itself and the belt itself, right? I talked about the fact that if you're going to carry in the appendix position, or you're going to compete in the appendix position, you should consider a holster that's purpose designed. Once again, look for a holster. This is the Precision Holsters Ultra Appendix. I do need to shout out Spencer Keepers. Keepers Concealment makes a fantastic holster. I personally know Jared Clausen at Tier 1. I'm sponsored by Precision Holsters, so I would certainly tell you to buy the Seeklander signature line, but there are other great guys and some good companies out there. This is by far my favorite, though. It's got some purpose design features such as material here, adjustability on the angle. So let me remind you in the closing of this, don't take a strong side holster that angles forward and carry an appendix. Do not do that. That's probably the single biggest appendix carry mistake I see. Then shooters are grabbing the gun like this, and it's very difficult to draw from. That's number one. Number two, your holster should be difficult to get on. So I have to work to get this sucker on, push the clip down, kind of fight to get it on the belt. If it is a challenge to get on the belt, it's going to be a challenge to get off the belt. For a guy that is trying to protect your gun, this is a good thing. We want it to be a challenge. Number three, notice the angle of my gun. My grip and my gun is just a little bit in this angle, which allows my hand to hit the grip and seamlessly draw the handgun out of the holster very, very easy. We also talked about reholstering. So you've loaded and made ready, or you're loading and getting ready to put your carry holster in your holster. Appendix position, sweep the garment out of the way. Posture change, quick glance into the holster, there's nothing in there. Fingers deliberately off the gun. Thumb check the gun to the holster. Muzzle never covers your body. Deliberate, slow, and safe. And yes, I'm looking at the holster. I know it's not tactical, but I want to be safe when I do that, okay? We also talked about garment. I have an undergarment on right now. This is a compression type shirt. So a close fitting, long compression shirt is the key. And then an outer garment that probably hangs right about where the bottom of your hand is, okay? So this is the selection of my concealment garment. We also talked about the draw methods. We talked about the rip and grip, which is something I typically don't do. I know it's a tenth or two faster potentially. I will do a strong side assist draw. So I'm sweeping with my strong hand. I'm assisting with my support hand. But I have the ability to take my flashlight and be searching a parking lot and still draw the handgun if my other hand is tied up. I'm not opposed to a rip and grip, but I would learn the other methods as well. In terms of sweeping, I like to reach and try to get my hand inside the initial garment. If I grab it a little bit wrong, it'll still work. I can still rip it out of the way and draw. I'm not a fan of reaching up and hitting the holster here or the garment here and grabbing it. But I have seen some folks that are really fast make that work. I want to get my hand inside the garment. And once I get my hand inside the garment, I'm going to draw the garment up and I'm going to draw a C with the open area facing down around the gun, switch to my thumb and drive my thumb up the back strap of the handgun, of course, make contact. Once again, safe reholstering position, okay? So there you go. There are some of your appendix carry tips. Competing from the appendix position or defending from the appendix position. And by the way, if you're going to carry there, get your 50. I talked about this the other day. Get your 50. Get into your safe area, work your draw process 50 times. Safe your holster. Get your 50 reps. Do your draws, and you're going to be dramatically better, right? I see Brandon Powers dry firing all the time, right? Tammy Evans, you missed most of this. I am so sorry to hear that. Jay, thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. Let me adjust my camera angle up slightly there. Let's see what else I have here, folks. If we have a question, I will address them, and then we're going to get off here. John, does your signature holster come with UTA clips as an option? Ulta clips. John, what is an Ulta clip, man? I don't know. I think John Marcus is on here. If not, reach out to John at Precision Holsters. I don't know what Ulta clips are, but these are the clips that the holster comes with. Now, on this one, this actually only had one hole. I added an extra hole because I adjusted the angle slightly. So ask John for a clip with an extra hole in it for those of you who might want to adjust your angle, okay? Just to make it a little bit easier on you. Earl Yeager, you have a great day as well. Craig Easton, thanks, man. I appreciate it a bunch. William, my thoughts on the Holster Enigma. Honestly, I've heard a lot about that holster, William, but I don't own one. I would probably try it out and test it and give you my feedback if I own one, but I don't have one. I deal predominantly, full disclosure, with Precision Holsters because they're one of my sponsors. I do own about everything else, but I don't own one of those, and I would be happy to take a look at it. So, Michael, thank you. Tina, thank you. Back to you. Oh, yeah, nice. Appendix carrier 1911 10 shot for Greg Knox. I love it, man. I'm going to be appendix carrying my little 1911 here when I leave the house and go to the range. And Brett, nice to see you as well. Good morning, Brett. Thank you for attending. Let's see if I have anything else. Okay, I don't see any other questions, folks. That's all I have. Richard Schlar, you have a great day as well, man. All right, that's all I have. So we talked about a lot of things. If you're just catching the tail end of this live streaming or whatever else, please do me a favor and rewind it. It is to an extent a repeat of the previous appendix position, carry position show that I did, but I wanted to address some more questions and I wanted to cover a little bit clearer than I covered last time. And I think we talked about that from your undergarment selection, to your outer garment selection, to your holster selection, to your belt selection, to the draw process, et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of things going on, in the appendix position. Of course, for you competitors in IDPA, I gave you 2 or 3 video demonstrations of a good, deliberate, safe reholstering process. Mirror that, mimic me, and do that and show the SOs that you're going to be super safe on the match and get in the habit of reholstering like that on a regular basis. The gun should never be pointed at your body when you're holster. Just take a second, reholster. I know it doesn't look tactical, but it's a great way to holster safely, and that's the deal. If you're drawing, draw fast, aggressively. Draw the handgun as fast as you possibly can. But if you're holstering, holster it safe. That's super, super important. So, folks, next week I am not positive I'm going to be live on Wednesday. I probably will. I have some other things going on. I will post the event. If I post the event, please make sure to put it on your calendar. We might be switching over to a new cycle, like maybe defensive rifle or PCC or something like that. So if you have an interest, type it in the comments. We still have 73 people watching this live. What do you want to switch to next week? If I were to cover some stuff, what would we cover? Maybe we would cover some low light handgun, which is always interesting, but probably more so for you defenders. One of these days, I'm actually going to bring my partner in crime in here and talk and teach about actual weapon retention. That'd be interesting. But what cycle do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? Should we pull out the defensive rifles? Man, should I actually get crazy and pull out a shotgun next week? I don't know. Maybe we'll see about that. So anyways, type in the comments if you have something, and I would love to hear your feedback. Let's see what else I have on here. Nothing else. Good morning. That's it. Yeah. Scott, Mark, Sheila, Richard, all of you, Brett, thank you for joining us. Michael as well, Tina, William, of course, Craig, always good to see you. Earl, Alan, John and John, Jay, Kelly, everybody is on right now. Tactical rifle, not just AR. Ooh, tactical rifle, not just AR. Brian, wow. PCC from Chris. You're totally asking. All right, folks, that's all I have. Thank you very much. And until then, train hard.